Good evening, folks. Tonight I will be reacting to a very abridged version of Peetz's post-COVID live stream. I have taken the liberty of editing out all of the comic book, movie, and video game dialogue, the long pauses, most of the eating and drinking and bodily noises, and all of the awkward pauses while he's trying to figure out what to say. Anyway, I'm doing this in two parts because it's extremely long and I personally have a lot to say in response to our dear Peetz here. So without further delay, let's just get to it.
And I think that, it's just fucking honestly gross that Florida is basically trying to forcibly out students, gay kids.
Okay, where I cut this at was he was talking about the parental rights bill again, and he's actually really misinformed because the part he's talking about was cut out of that bill before it even went into voting, because they realized that in some cases, if you tell a child's family that they are homosexual or having gender issues, it could lead to the child coming to harm from the family. So they took that part out of the bill. He is misinformed. Whatever his Twitter feed is, they're very selective in their updates, I guess.
It's gross. And now they've got this new, and now Florida's got this new, these new suggestions for these new medical suggestions that are basically just it's basically just a ban on trans kids.
It's actually not. These medical guidelines are there to protect very young children from having irreversible harm caused to their bodies with puberty blockers and replacement hormone injections. Because it doesn't matter what Peetz believes, puberty blockers and replacement hormones do severe damage that doesn't ever go away. When the voice drops, it stays dropped. When the testicles shrink, they stay shrunk. If the child decides that they have changed their mind, that they don't want to be the opposite gender they were born as, then their body is destroyed. They will never have a normal family. They will never ever have a normal sex life. So let's continue.
So Florida is at the point where they are straight up trying to ban trans kids.
They're not trying to ban trans kids. They are trying to understand the mechanism behind the desire for so many people to want to change gender, because it is very odd.
Smith, I'm talking about that.
And also they're trying to protect children from hurting themselves. Peetz keeps repeating the same stuff over and over again without really giving any kind of information, any kind of real input as to why he believes what he believes. He just says things are creepy, things are gross, things are weird, and that's all he's got.
Fuck. Setting aside that fucking parental rights bill.
He really doesn't want parents to have the right to know what their children are learning.
I'm talking about that fucking bullshit, fuck you. Now they've put out this
I missed a couple of the profanity slingings and insults. I'm sorry.
Fucking shitty ass guidelines on how doctors should. So here's the thing: Florida has now just put out these guidelines.
Now I need to remind you guys that a lot of the time I only cut the pauses, so the ums and the stammering and the bits where it seems like it's all chopped up. The only thing that's missing is the long pause with the weird tongue motion and darting eyes.
About how doctors should handle trans youth. They are straight up, these guidelines would just straight up ban any sort of medical care.
He means by medical care, these guidelines will not administer, again, puberty blockers and replacement hormones to people under 18 years of age, because they have no life experience, they have no knowledge other than their tiny little world. So it's not blocking. Like, if a child has appendicitis, they're going to get treated for appendicitis if they go into the hospital.
But they would also, these guidelines are also include banning social transitioning. They want to ban social transitioning.
Social transitioning is when you dress a child up as the opposite gender and allow it to pick its name, so that you've got 7-year-old children called Charizard that wear scuba suits to school.
For trans youth, what these guidelines are doing is saying kids are not allowed to be trans.
It's not saying the kids are not allowed to be trans. It's saying that there needs to be therapy for these children. They need to understand why they feel the opposite gender before they mutilate their tiny little bodies.
Wants to ban trans kids from existing. They want to just ban trans children.
It doesn't matter how many times you say it, Peetz, it's not true.
I want to say that, 13-year-old kid wants to come out as the other gender. These guidelines would say that anyone who tries to use the proper pronouns or use the name the kid wants to be used, or
a 13-year-old child that has gender issues really should go seek psychotherapy. They need to see a counselor and figure out why they have these gender issues. Is it because they don't want to take part in traditional gender roles? Or do they honestly, physically feel as if they were born the wrong gender? When you're a 13-year-old child and you're raised by a traditional family, and you're a little girl and you would rather go climb trees and play in the dirt than wear a stupid dress and play with dollies, you're just a little girl that is experiencing life and exploring things. You're not a little boy trapped in a girl's body. Peetz's worldview is so small and so warped that it's astounding and fascinating and terrifying, isn't it?
Buys the kid the clothes they want to wear, that would be
Clothing does not make a gender.
That would not be allowed. No, Richie, they want to just straight up ban trans children. That's what those guidelines do. I'm talking about. This article is what I'm talking about. Basically just straight up says no social transitioning, which means Different name, pronouns, or style of dress should not be a treatment option.
Because you have to figure out why the child feels the way they do. You don't just throw the kid in the opposite gender's clothing, shrug your shoulders, and say, oh, well. You find the underlying reason before you start making the changes.
They want to ban trans youth from existing.
No, they don't.
Florida wants to ban trans youth from existing.
Doesn't matter how many times you say it.
That is what is happening here.
No, it's not.
DeSantis and his government want to ban trans youth from existing
No, they don't.
within the state. That's the issue here. That's happening. That is going on.
All they want to do is disallow doctors and medical professionals from giving very, very young children hormone treatments because it does irreversible damage to the reproductive system, you fucking creep.
That is what they are trying to do.
No, it's not.
Article about mostly about surgery? Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal. Trans-affirming surgery is a big deal. But
it's a massive deal, and it can go horribly wrong. And when it goes right, it looks kind of horribly wrong sometimes.
But that's what they want to fucking do. That's what Florida is trying to fucking do right
No, it's not, Peetz.
now. And it's not going to end in Florida. Other states are going to pull the same shit.
Good, because then maybe we could understand why so many young people have so many messed up gender issues and would rather mutilate their bodies than figure out what is wrong in their heads and hearts and learn how to be comfortable.
Other states are going to be doing the exact same fucking bullshit where they try to ban social transitioning, where they say that no, kids, that until you're 18.
Well, you know what, Peetz? Dressing a little girl up like a little boy out in public and in school is kind of messed up, because if something happens to the child, if there's an accident that happens to the child and they have to go to the hospital or what have you, and they are not the gender that you list on their enrollment papers, then there's identity confusion, and I don't have to explain why it's wrong. I can just post an article that you did not post.
18, you have to use the name that you were given at.
Hey man, in the United States, you can't vote until you're 18 years old. You can't drink alcohol until you're 21 years old. You can't rent a car. You can't rent a hotel room. You can't buy a home until you're 18 years old. You should not be allowed to mutilate your body until you have a little bit of life experience and some knowledge about what the world actually is.
At birth, you have to use the pronouns you're given at birth. You have to be who you were assigned at birth.
Yeah, because you know what? Then you got 7-year-olds calling themselves Charizard. Look at the tongue out. Look at him. Look. That tongue. He's got some like serious cognitive issues, because he's got like even facial coordination issues.
They want to fucking kill trans kids.
No, they don't, Peetz. Nobody wants to kill anybody.
That's what's happening.
It's not what's happening.
They're going to fucking kill trans kids.
No, they're not.
This shit is going to result in suicides.
No, it's not, Peetz. Maybe it'll result in some understanding and proper psychotherapy, and maybe it'll result in little kids learning to love themselves for who they are, instead of surgically modifying themselves to cosplay as something they are not.
It's going to result in trans children killing themselves.
No, it's not, Peetz.
Getting trans kids to kill themselves? That is the fucking goal!
Again, doesn't matter how many times you say it, it's not fucking true.
They absolutely love the thought of trans kids killing themselves.
No, that's pretty fucked up. The thought of anybody killing themselves is pretty fucked up, Peetz.
They want
You, on the other hand, enjoy thinking about other people killing themselves.
trans kids to be dead.
No, Peetz. No, they don't.
Or so scared that they never come out of the closet.
No, they don't. They want trans kids to be comfortable in their own skin and not modify themselves and not hurt themselves and not mutilate their poor little bodies. That's what they want, Peetz. They don't want people to kill themselves. They don't want people to be afraid. They want people to be comfortable in the natural human skin they were fucking born in.
Because here's the thing. Republicans, conservatives, TERFs, all of them. Everyone on the right wants to fucking kill trans kids.
No, they don't, Peetz.
Everyone on the right just fucking hates trans kids, wants them all to fucking die. They want all trans people to die.
That's not true. Nobody wants trans people to die. Most people want trans people to be happy with themselves. Most people feel sorry for trans people because they have to mutilate their bodies to be comfortable.
Like, they want all trans people dead. That's what they want.
No, they don't, Pete. You're a psychopath.
Republicans, conservatives, TERFs, they want trans kids, they want trans people dead.
Stop it.
They want to just get rid of all trans people. That's the goal, is to just get rid of trans people. That's the goal of it right now.
He doesn't, I mean, like, he keeps repeating the same thing over and over and over and over again. He doesn't give any evidence. He doesn't give any references. He just says, oh, they want him dead, they want him dead, they want him dead, they want him dead. It doesn't make it true, no matter how many times you repeat it, no matter how loud you say it. It doesn't make it fucking true.
Are TERFs right wing? Hell yeah, they are.
No, they're not. No, they are not.
All those TERFs who claim to be liberal, nope, they are right wing. Because they want trans people to fucking die.
Now, regardless, their view of transgender people is not related to politics. What you do with your body is not related to politics.
They all want trans kids dead.
That is not true.
Every single fucking one of them. Republicans are fucking monsters.
You're a fucking monster, Pete. Peetz, you take entirely too much time thinking about what is in the pants of very, very, very young children. And that is scary. And that makes you a fucking monster.
Like, there's cruel, evil pieces of shit. I got people sitting here.
If Republicans are such cruel, evil pieces of shit, then how come it was Republicans that repealed slavery, during the Civil War? How come that? And if Republicans are such cruel, evil pieces of shit, then how come they have such strong family values? And how come they promote family bonds and educating children so that they can live in the real world and take care of themselves?
You're accusing me of being a pedophile right now.
Well, you're acting like one, Peetz, because you focus entirely too much on what is in the pants of very, very young children.
My chat is just absolutely fucking full of people accusing me of being a groomer, a pedophile, child abuser, all this shit.
You could have avoided the entire thing by just saying, I don't have an opinion. And then nobody would have called you a pedophile. You took the fucking bait. You took the bait.
I'm expected to just ignore it.
No, you should address that. You should address that at your therapist. You should talk to your therapist about the fact that you spend so much time thinking about the sexual nature of small children, Peetz.
If I say anything at all about any of this shit, then suddenly somehow I become the bad guy. So just leave me the fuck alone. Anyway, here's my wings, my chicken wings.
His little chicken wings.
PNG. I mean, I think less of Will Smith as an actor because he's a Scientologist. The Scientology is really the big problem I have with Will Smith. As far as I know, he is.
Yeah, he doesn't even know if Will Smith is actually a Scientologist. He just hates him because he believes he is a Scientologist. Not because he is a garbage actor, not because he is a crap human being, and not because he is a shitty musician. He just hates him because he believes that he's a Scientologist.
Transition goals, I don't know yet.
But he's been thinking about transitioning for a number of years.
I haven't started any shots.
Nope, but he's been thinking about transitioning for a number of years.
Planning on transitioning, it's just I don't know what sort of goals I have in place yet.
Because he's done absolutely no research. He hasn't even gone and looked at finished surgeries. He hasn't done any research about trans rights or anything of that nature. He has just sat around and fantasized about himself as a little girl with no bald spot. Hi, Bubble. Speaking
No, I have no plan on dating men.
Then what the fuck is the point of transitioning into a woman if you don't want to hook up with dudes?
I haven't really put that much thought into it to begin with.
Now, again, like this person wants to transition into female, but they're not interested in men. I really don't know very many lesbians that would be interested in a woman with a giant bald spot, a beard, and yeah. And very poor table manners.
I'm going to shave my beard? Yeah, I will.
He has a full beard, yet he has been feeling like he wants to transition for a number of years. And you see how he's eating here? This is another indication that he really is not serious about any kind of transitioning. As a woman, even as a woman who is very, very unladylike as myself, I am very aware of my table manners, of what I look like when I eat, how I present myself to the public, how I walk, how I move, how I stand. This person here is just cramming disgusting chicken wings in their mouth, eating with their mouth open, speaking with their mouth full. No indication of any kind of feminine mannerisms at all. Yet they claim they are in transition.
Does Canada's healthcare have anything for transition? I think so.
He thinks so, but he doesn't know because he's never actually done any research.
I haven't looked too much into it yet.
No, you haven't. All you've done is sit there and fantasize about yourself as a little girl with no fucking bald spot.
Plastic surgery? I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know nothing.
My thoughts on autofellatio? I mean, I'm kind of jealous of the people who can do that.
You know, why is a person that is aiming toward transitioning into a woman jealous of an individual who can suck their own doodle? Why? Why, Peetz?
If I did die, would I consider my life well lived one? Nope. Not at all.
Well, that's a fucking shame because you're 37 years old and you've never held a job and you've only had one relationship with a person that was there only because you were convenient and she felt sorry for you. You contribute nothing, you produce nothing, you do nothing. You have no grasp on reality, you have nothing going for you whatsoever, and that is really, really sad, and you should probably fucking change that.
Grand story time with kids? I got no problem with it. Jerry Springer. I used to watch Jerry Springer. In retrospect, I'm not keen on what the Jerry Springer show was. It was when I was a lot younger than Boner, Carl Sagan's Boner.
I love that name so much. I think that is absolutely hilarious.
So yeah, I was a lot younger when I was watching it. In retrospect, I'm not overly keen on, for lack of a better term, freak show entertainment. Coach, was he?
Says the man who lives with a woman, who lives off of a woman, who is a professional train wreck freak show.
The YouTuber went to Ukraine and got probably killed by...
I accidentally cut off a part here where he's asked about Coach Red Pill, what he thinks about Coach Red Pill, and somebody explains it to him, and here we go.
The Ukrainian person for being pro-Putin? Well, that's a shame.
The person just told him that that Coach Red Pill may no longer be with us, and he smugly replies to it as if he knows anything about the Russian-Ukrainian war or what's going on. And that's just fucking disgusting that he can feel that way about any loss of life. There is no such thing as a good war. There is no such thing as the good loss of life. And Peetz is a disgusting scumbag.
Would I change the age of consent if I could? I mean, age of consent where?
Yeah, see? Age of consent where? Because in some countries, the age of consent is like 12 years old, 13 years old. I think in Japan it's 14, but I'm not really sure, and I don't feel like looking it up. I know it's very, very young, and he probably only cares about the age of consent in his general neighborhood.
Thoughts on Dilbert? What got, like, the fact that that comic is still going, and the
is a triumph to Scott Adams' will.
Dilbert guy, Scott Adams?
Yup, that's his name, Peetz.
Scott Adams, right?
Yes, Peetz.
That guy is so fucking weird.
No, he's not, Peetz. You're a fucking weirdo.
Like, he is just weird.
No, he's not, Peetz. He's fucking brilliant.
He tweeted out a thread the other day about, like, how many times he's had guns shoved in his face? How many car accidents been in? How many people have drawn knives on him? Like, it's just how many times he's been burgled, and just like all this, like this long list of all these things that he's almost that have had to him.
Well, I mean, he's older. He's lived a very full life. He's been all over the place, and I'm pretty sure he lives in a fucking city. And if you're a human being that goes outside every day and lives in a city, there's a higher probability that you're going to have something messed up happen to you, like getting burgled, run over, or, generally mugged. I live in Baltimore. These kind of shits happen. You just gotta stay on your fucking toes. Anyway, Peetz is an idiot. Scott Adams is awesome. One of my favorite pieces that he did is called God's Debris. It's a free novella that you can download. Just go on Google and look up God's Debris. It's in PDF format. There's also an audiobook on YouTube. It's a really cool thought experiment from the perspective of a deity in human form, talking about the concept of the creator breaking itself into a bunch of pieces to experience life, because it already knew stuff, so it just, it killed itself to restart. Anyway, let's get on with this.
Have happened to him. It's like, what is his life?
His life is the normal, average human life of a very, very brilliant creator with a very strong career.
And then he ended his thread by saying that he's only taken 5 full vacation days in the past, 30 years. Dude, you're allowed to take breaks.
You know what? He only took that many vacation days because he loves what he fucking does. And he doesn't consider it work. He does works, which is different than working. When you are doing works, you are doing something you enjoy and promoting your own message and your own ideas. You're not working for some man. So it's not something where you stop what you're doing and it's, oh, I need a fucking break. And you take a whole month in Cuba or whatever, or a week in Cuba. And it's funny that someone like Peetz says, dude, you're allowed to take breaks, because this man has never, ever worked a single day in his entire fucking life.
Do I have any native friends? Jimmy, I don't have friends. Yeah.
I wonder why.
Yes, I am still boycotting Disney for right now. Not sure how long I will boycott it for, because I really like Marvel.
See how creepy this freak is? He's so fixated on his stupid superhero comics that haven't been good since the very early 90s that he can't even keep a moral conviction or support his LGBTQIA friends that are on Twitter telling him all of this false information that he keeps repeating.
Yeah, Disney does just creep me the hell out. That's what it comes down to. Disney just creeps me out, in all honesty.
It creeps him out so hard.
Why am I boycotting Disney? Because they're creepy.
Because they're creepy. Why else would he boycott Disney?
It's just, they're so big, so powerful, and they do tend to be a little bit... I would argue that Disney is overly protective of its stuff. I mean, fuck.
All of the things that Disney actually does, and the only thing that he cares about is their copyright of their intellectual property. All of the things that Disney does, the the buying up of other smaller corporations and destroying their work, or the fact that they promote alternative lifestyles and push alternative lifestyles in the United States, but will willingly censor their own movies so that they can get Chinese money too. And he's just creeped out by their copyright issues.
Like, Disney, along with Warner and a couple other companies, have gotten trademark laws extended to ridiculous amounts.
And that is their right, because that is their intellectual property that they created. There are artists out there that don't have control of the things that they create, and all kinds of people make money off of their art, but they don't. So big corporations like Warner and Disney that protect their copyright, that, they do that to protect their image and stop creeps and people like you from profiting off of stuff that does not belong to you.
Ridiculous lengths of time. But and so I mean, even just their copyright lobbying is creepy.
It's not creepy. It's like literally the only normal fucking thing they do.
Yeah, so Disney, like, that preschool that they sued for, so like that preschool that they sued for painting like Mickey Mouse and all that on the walls. And like, on the one hand, I understand why they did it. From a legal standpoint, they kind of had to enforce the copyright. But on the other side of it, pay us a buck.
Well, okay. The images that were used were not used inside the building, they were used outside the building on the exterior. So that would be considered a sale point, for lack of a better way to put it. So like, you're driving past this preschool and you see like Mickey and Minnie and Goofy and all that shit on the front, and the kid's gonna be like, mommy, I want to go to that school. So that's a sale point. Then also, Disney has the right to protect their image if this preschool is teaching a message that Disney does not align itself with, or they don't agree with like the educational style of the preschool, then they have absolutely 100% right to not want to even charge this preschool for using their characters. They have the right to say, no, we don't want you to use our art in your stupid fucking preschool.
There you go. We've licensed you to paint the walls.
And again, it was not the inside of the preschool that was like, put in question. It was the outside, the exterior.
With our characters. Like, it's one of those things where overly, I'll admit, I haven't,
where they're overly protective of their copyright, blah, 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 blah. Like, people aren't allowed to protect their own intellectual property.
I haven't looked too much into, trans issues in Japan. Or in most countries, honestly.
He hasn't looked into trans issues at all. All he has done is sit around in the corner and fantasize about himself as a pretty little girl with no fucking bald spot.
Disney movie came on TV, would I not watch? I don't have cable. The only way for me to watch a Disney movie is to go on Disney Plus.
Which he probably still pays for, which means that he is not boycotting Disney. If you're still fucking paying for Disney Plus, you're not boycotting Disney.
Japan, I imagine, is better for transition. Hard to tell.
It's hard to tell because he's done absolutely no research about trans issues or transitioning anywhere for any reason at all.
Would I date a single parent? Probably not. I'd become a commie
That's a good thing because you shouldn't be allowed near children.
or a Nazi. Call me. I don't even think twice. Damn right I'll be a communist.
Peetz, if you honestly knew what communism entailed, you would not be a communist. Because in communism, you have to be able to contribute to society if you want to live in it. You, Peetz, will have to get off your fat, greasy, lazy ass and go out and either work in the fucking field planting the corn, or go work in the fucking factory making the bullets in that gun that is going to be held to your fucking head if you don't get the fuck up off your ass and go the fuck to work, comrade.
Hell, you don't even need to put a gun to my head. Well, communists get the same reputation as Nazis. What it comes down to is communism is an economic system rather than, strictly speaking, a political system.
That is incorrect. And we all know that. Go the fuck on Google and go read, for yourself. Go do research on exactly what communism is. It is an economic and political system, because you cannot have communism in a general public, because it is human nature to want to have your own property and privacy, and it is human nature to want to keep the things that you work for.
Wouldn't it require extreme authority and rule? I don't think so.
You don't think so, but you don't know any fucking thing, Peetz. And yes, communism will always take extreme authoritarian rule, because not everybody wants to share their property.
I think that you could have a democratic communism.
You think, but you've been wrong a number of times before, Peetz.
Communism has never been implemented well.
Because it doesn't fucking work. Because it goes against human nature.
It's always been implemented an authoritarian government.
Because there's no other way to keep people in line if they don't want to all share their things.
But was I ever in special education classes? No, I was not.
I think that is a lie.
It's theoretically possible to do a democratic communism.
No, it's not. Show me the paperwork. Do you have any research? Have you done any kind of writing on this? Have you really put anything down on paper to prove your point? Do you have any research material? Do you have any references for your theory here, Peetz? Or are you just going to say words?
It's never been done, and it'd be very difficult to do, but it's possible.
Yeah, he's just going to say words because he's not offering any solutions. He's just, it's possible, but you don't know how to do it, so you don't even know if it's possible.
No, autism was not mentioned when I was growing up.
Not to you, but maybe to your parents.
When I was in school. Right? I mean, any age. You can realize it, people can come to that realization at any age. And like the idea,
He was just asked, how old how old, would children be when they come to the realization that they were born the wrong gender?
that like, oh, kids aren't able to, kids are too, oh, hey, Rara. The idea that kids are too young to realize it about themselves, fuck that, they're not. Like, kids absolutely, even at
Children also believe in Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny. And it's very, very, very easy to convince them that those are real.
single digit age.
No, Peetz. No, they're not.
Yeah, like, kids absolutely do realize at extremely young ages. When I was a kid, I wanted to be done. Not really. But here's the when you were a kid, you wanted to be a dog. But it's not something where you were convinced that you were a dog.
You know what? There are people out there that are convinced that they were born the wrong species. So why don't you go and talk to them and give them this same argument? I personally, when I was a small child, I used to get upset as fuck that I was not a goddamn Decepticon. I used to fantasize as a very, very small child about putting my brain in a giant fucking robot body and then going and stomping on my fucking enemies. But you don't see me being upset and crying about it now and aiming to do it now that I am 47 years old because I grew out of it. I also grew out of the decade and a half that I had serious, severe penis envy and a desire to go and do male stuff and take part in male centric activities like joining the priesthood. And that was during my teen years, Peetz. People change their minds. And the fact that you're perfectly fine with having a child mutilate their body with replacement hormones and puberty blockers before they really, really understand how any part of the world works is fucked up. You, Peetz, as a 37-year-old scumbag who is filthy, disgusting monster who cannot even figure out how to clean a cat box, that you don't even know how to live your life. You should not be thinking about what small children do with their bodies.
Like, it's different. Like, I remember seeing somebody address the whole, oh, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a dinosaur. I saw somebody address that whole thing and point out that you didn't wonder why you didn't have a tail.
See, you're speaking from your own perspective, Pete. You didn't wonder why you didn't have a tail. You don't know what is in the hearts and minds of other people. And you certainly do not know what is in the hearts and minds of very small children.
You didn't cry yourself to sleep over not having scales. It wasn't something, even as a kid, I want to be a dinosaur. Even when you're a kid, that's like, it's make-believe.
I wanted to be a boy, I wanted to be a butterfly, I wanted to be a fucking Decepticon. I wanted to be a bird, and I wanted to be a cat. All before I was 16 years old. And there were a couple of times when I cried myself to sleep that I couldn't be things that were not, that were absolutely, completely out of my reach. So Peetz is a piece of shit and is speaking again speaking from a place that he doesn't understand, because again, he does not know what is in the hearts and minds of other people.
Even as a kid, you don't actually. Why is detransitioning? Because of social pressure. The vast, overwhelming majority of detransitioners do so not out of any realization that transitioning was the wrong choice for them, but because of social pressure that they received. What is non-binary? I think non-binary is when you're willing to eat anything. But
Okay, you see this? He spends all this time talking about little kids, but and them changing their gender to the opposite gender, but then he makes a disgusting sex joke about non-binary people. There are some non-binary people that are that way because they want nothing to do with sexuality or gender. They don't want to be associated with sexuality or gender. So they consider themselves non-binary, neuter, or asexual. Peetz is a disgusting fucking scumbag. And I need a break because Waffle wants to go outside. Well, that absolutely sucked, didn't it? I'll see you guys later for part 2.